This young girl was abducted and killed by her uncle while going to school, and despite the police's best efforts, her body was never found. Danielle Jones, 15, was last seen on Monday, June 18, 2001, when she left her home in East Tilbury to catch the bus to St Clair's School in Stamford-le-Hope. Her walk from her home to the bus stop would normally take just 5 minutes, and she had been seen walking some of the way by other school pupils. A girl matching her description was seen getting into a blue transit-style van along part of her route to the bus stop. Initially started as a missing persons inquiry, fears grew for Danielle, who was described as a normal girl who had not had any recent family arguments or problems at school. On Thursday, June 21st, 2001, Detective Superintendent Peter Coltman was appointed to lead the investigation. Considerable inquiries had already been made into where Danielle might be, including interviewing friends and family members. It was the absence of any information or sightings that in the main were causing alarm. Within 24 hours of a senior investigating officer being appointed, the inquiry built up speed rapidly. Searches were being carried out, information was coming in, and a picture of Danielle's life was emerging. Danielle's uncle, Stuart Campbell, was arrested at midnight on June 22nd on suspicion of her abduction and released on police bail on June 25th. While the investigative work was being progressed with real urgency, a further line of inquiry needed developing. This was the search for witnesses and appeals to the public. The first press conference, held with Danielle's parents Linda and Tony Jones, gave the first indication of the huge interest that this investigation would generate and of the huge pressure that it would create. Inspector Alan Cook was appointed as a dedicated media spokesman to cope with the demand for the media interviews. Publication of Danielle's photograph generated hundreds of reported sightings, all of which had to be investigated. The scale of the response from the public risked a vital piece of information being hidden within mountains of genuine, well-intended messages and reports. Meanwhile, the search operation was far in excess of anything Essex Police had undertaken before, and required the design of a system and database to manage it. Members of the Essex Police search team were joined by colleagues from other forces and organisations, which on some days amounted to more than 100 personnel actively searching. A large public search of open land in Tilbury was organised, and more than 500 members of the local community helped. This community spirit was maintained throughout the investigation, with regular meetings of community representatives and police. Advice was sought from police colleagues by the investigating team, and based upon significant research into similar incidents, it was probable that Danielle was dead. Stuart Campbell was arrested on the basis of new evidence and following lengthy interview was charged with a number of serious offences and remanded in custody. Nevertheless, the hard work of sifting through information, analysing data and interviewing potential witnesses continued. The Crown Prosecution Service was consulted about progress and offered good advice. One area that was becoming increasingly important was the possibility of a murder charge, even if Danielle's body could not be found. The case law on such a position was clear and set a high threshold of proof. Mobile phone records led to Stuart Campbell being tracked down as her killer, said Crown Prosecution Service lawyer Chris McCann. Mr. McCann, the head of the trials unit at Essex CPS, said, "With the advancement in modern forensic techniques, we are all used to cases where DNA points to the killer, and the chances of it being someone other than the defendant are put at millions to one. While forensic evidence is useful, it is rarely the only evidence against someone. In the case against Campbell, the evidence was so powerful that I was convinced when I reviewed the case it was strong enough to put before a jury, even without any forensic evidence." Mobile phone records showed calls made by Campbell using Danielle's phone. These calls were received by his mobile phone in the crucial time after she went missing. It was this information which pinpointed him as the chief suspect and placed him in the dock. Stuart Campbell was charged on November 14, 2001 with the murder of Danielle Jones. He was convicted at Chelmsford Crown Court on December 19, 2002 for the murder and abduction of his niece and sentenced to life imprisonment. He has since given notice of appeal. Nearly 1,000 Essex police personnel were engaged at various times on the investigation. The deployment of such large numbers of resources was a massive task. There were 8,336 police actions and 1,489 statements. Danielle's body has never been found, nor any of the items she was wearing the day she disappeared. Her school bag and mobile phone are also still missing.